AI is just moving so incredibly fast these days, isn't it? You see it everywhere, from predictive analytics changing how businesses forecast to major shifts in automation at work.
Absolutely. It's hard to keep up sometimes.
Exactly. And for you listening, staying on top of it all is crucial. So today, we're going to dive into something really fundamental: the actual hurdles organizations are hitting when they try to adopt AI.
Right, moving beyond just the cool tech side of things.
Precisely. We're looking at a recent ODSC survey that gives us some solid data. Our mission here is to really understand these main roadblocks, and you'll see many aren't purely technical.
It's interesting because so much hype focuses on the latest model or algorithm, but the ODSC survey really highlights the more human and organizational friction points, the stuff that happens on the ground.
Let's jump right in then. The number one barrier, according to this survey, a lack of knowledge. Over 52% of the people they asked pointed to this.
Wow, 52%. That's a clear majority. It's not even close.
It really isn't. And this isn't just, not knowing what AI stands for. It's deeper. It means uncertainty about framing actual use cases, like what problems can AI really solve for us?
Yeah, and gaps in just basic machine learning understanding. Plus, trying to figure out which vendors are legitimate, which tools to use. It's a confusing landscape.
And that confusion feeds into leadership hesitating, right? If the ROI isn't crystal clear because the understanding isn't there, it's hard to get buy-in.
Exactly. So if you're listening and you felt overwhelmed or unsure where your organization should even begin with AI, well, this survey shows you're in good company.
It really does. The big takeaway here seems to be that organizations absolutely need to prioritize AI literacy, upskilling, training. It's becoming essential to avoid falling behind.
That 52% is a real warning sign. Without that foundational knowledge, how can you even evaluate potential AI solutions effectively, let alone build them? It just stalls everything.
Okay, so right behind lack of knowledge, literally nipping at its heels, is budget constraints. 51% cited this.
Almost identical. Makes sense. These things are expensive.
They are, and it's not just the sticker price of some AI software. The survey points out it's the ongoing investment required.
Right. You need scalable cloud infrastructure, which isn't cheap. You need good, clean data pipelines that takes work and resources.
And crucially, you need skilled people. Data scientists, ML engineers, either hiring them or training your existing teams.
Those salaries aren't trivial either.
Definitely not. And the survey has a good warning here. Trying to cut corners on these things, especially early on, that often leads to projects just fizzling out or failing completely.
It's that classic short-term saving, long-term pain scenario.
Yeah.
You really have to see it as an investment, not just a cost. Investing wisely now in the right infrastructure, and especially in education, pays off later. It builds that solid foundation.
So knowledge and budget are the top two, almost tied. Then we have two more big ones, both flagged by 43% of respondents: security and integration.
The practical headaches of actually making AI work at scale.
Exactly. Let's break those down. Security concerns, what are we talking about? Things like data breaches, obviously, but also manipulating the AI models themselves.
Yeah, adversarial attacks.
Yeah.
And then there are all the compliance risks, especially if you're dealing with sensitive customer data, health data, you name it, GDPR, HIPAA.
Big hurdles. And then integration. This sounds like making the AI actually play nice with everything else you already have.
Pretty much. Embedding AI tools into existing systems, existing workflows, it's often harder than it looks. You can't just have these AI pilot projects sitting off in a corner.
They need to connect to the core business.
Right. And that's where having a robust MLO strategy comes in. MLOs, it's like DevOps, but for machine learning, it's about having the processes and tools to manage the whole life cycle, from building models to deploying them reliably and keeping them running. Without that, AI often stays stuck in the lab.
So a clear strategy is needed, focusing on things like governance, making sure the AI isn't a black box explainability, right? And making sure systems talk to each other, interoperability.
Absolutely essential. You can't bolt these things on later. They need to be part of the plan from day one.
Okay, the next barrier mentioned is cultural resistance, cited by 30%. Now, that's the lowest percentage of the big ones we've discussed, but the survey suggests it might be really underestimated.
Interesting. Why underestimated?
Well, think about the roots of it. There's genuine fear about jobs being automated away. There's skepticism towards these complex systems, especially if people don't understand how they reach decisions that black box problem again.
And maybe just a general mistrust of decisions being purely data-driven, taking the human element out.
Could be. The survey really stresses that successful AI adoption needs good change management. Clear communication is key.
And involving people, not just imposing it.
Right, and really focusing the narrative. Not AI is replacing you, but AI can augment you, helping you do your job better or faster or focus on more interesting parts. Empowering people.
That cultural piece, I agree, can be incredibly sticky. You can throw money and tech at problems, but changing mindsets and building trust, that takes time and a different kind of effort. Showing the actual benefits, making it tangible for people.
The survey also points out something quite important, how these barriers are often linked, especially that lack of knowledge and the budget constraints.
Yeah, you can see how they'd feed each other.
Totally. If leaders don't fully grasp what's needed, not just the money, but the investment in skills and understanding, they might underfund projects.
Which then don't perform well.
Exactly. Which then leads to failure or underwhelming results. And that fuels skepticism about AI's value overall. It becomes a vicious cycle, starting from that weak foundation of understanding.
Underinvesting in competence is just as damaging as underinvesting in capital. Maybe more so in the long run. It kills opportunities before they even get started.
So, given all these challenges, knowledge gaps, budget fights, security worries, integration nightmares, cultural pushback, what does ODSC actually recommend? How do organizations move forward?
Well, one key piece of advice is to start small, but strategically. Don't try to boil the ocean.
Focus on pilot projects.
Exactly. Pick specific, manageable problems where AI can offer a clear solution and, crucially, where you can measure the return on investment, show some tangible wins.
And use those wins to build credibility internally.
Precisely. Success breeds success. It makes it much easier to get funding and support for bigger, more ambitious AI initiatives down the line once you've demonstrated value.
Okay, that makes sense. Anything else?
Yes, another big one is building cross-functional alliances.
Yeah.
AI isn't just an IT project.
Right. You mentioned needing buy-in from leadership, but this sounds broader.
It is. You need to work closely with legal, IT, HR, operations. Basically, anyone who will be impacted or involved.
Why so broad?
Because you need to anticipate challenges early. Legal needs to weigh in on data governance and ethics. HR needs to manage the employee side, the training, the potential role changes. Operations needs to figure out how it fits into daily work.
So, getting everyone around the table from the start avoids nasty surprises later. It's a team effort.
It absolutely has to be. You can't implement AI effectively in a silo.
Okay, shifting gears slightly to some recent AI news that touches on some of these themes. There's been buzz around the AI companion app, Chai.
Oh yeah, the one where users create AI chat partners.
That's the one. Apparently, it's become huge, a massive AI companion empire, and interestingly, it was built by a really small team, just 13 engineers, according to reports.
13 engineers. Wow, that's impressive scaling. It really shows how accessible some of the advanced AI models and tools are becoming, doesn't it?
It does. You don't necessarily need a giant corporation anymore to build something impactful in the AI space, at least on the consumer side.
And it taps into that direct consumer engagement, which is maybe a different adoption path than the enterprise challenges the ODSC survey focused on.
That's an interesting contrast, actually. We're talking about organizations struggling with basic knowledge gaps, and yet here's a consumer app achieving massive scale relatively quickly.
It makes you wonder. Perhaps general AI literacy and comfort are growing faster among the public through apps like Chai than within some traditional business structures.
That's a really good point. Maybe employees are coming in with more personal AI experience than companies realize or know how to leverage. Could bridging that gap help overcome some of those internal knowledge barriers?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
If organizations can tap into that existing familiarity, it might smooth the path for adopting AI tools internally. It's less alien if people are already using similar tech in their own lives.
So while the ODSC survey paints this picture of significant organizational hurdles, knowledge, budget, security, culture, the Chai story shows this other dynamic, rapid innovation and adoption in the consumer space, sometimes driven by very small, agile teams.
It highlights that the AI landscape is really complex. The challenges aren't uniform. They depend heavily on the context enterprise versus consumer, the specific application, the existing infrastructure and culture.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. As you see AI news unfolding, whether it's about corporate struggles or breakout apps like Chai, think about these different facets.
Consider how the challenges we've discussed, The need for knowledge, the role of budget, security, integration, culture might be playing out behind the headlines.
These aren't just abstract survey results. They're the real forces shaping how AI is actually being adopted or not adopted all around us. Understanding these human-centric barriers is just as critical, maybe even more so, than understanding the tech itself.
Definitely something to keep in mind as AI continues to weave its way into more aspects of our work and lives.